Donald Trump's New York civil fraud trial could wrap up this week after the former president decided not to testify today. Trump announced on social media he has, quote, nothing more to say. Prosecutors accuse the former president, his adult sons, and his business of a decades-long fraud scheme that centered around inflating the value of their company. CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson joins us now. Thanks so much for chatting with us, Jessica. We appreciate it, as always. First, when Trump testified in early November, he lashed out at New York's attorney general and the judge. What do you make of this decision not to testify again, and how could it influence his legal strategy in other cases?
So I think he decided not to testify because, frankly, I think he expects this case is already lost. We know that this particular case, the judge before the trial already found that Trump and the Trump organization were liable for fraud. So this trial is all about damages on that count and whether or not the judge will find liability on the rest of the counts. Let's remember, there's not a jury in this case to play to. It's just the judge who knows the facts of this case and knows the law very well. So why not testify? He already gave this kind of monologue interrupted by questions before when the prosecution put on its case. If he were to testify again, in the first instance, he would be subject to friendlier questioning by his attorneys, but then he would be subject to cross-examination. And I think that's something that he really wanted to avoid. So you asked, what could this mean for other cases? Let's remember, this is a civil case, but for other cases, for the criminal cases, I'd be very surprised if the former president wants to take the stand and subject himself to cross-examination.
So this is a case that if the calculation is that they've already lost, don't say anything that could potentially be used against you in another situation?
I think that's exactly right. And or don't commit perjury, because he would be subject to a lengthy list of rapid fire yes or no questions. Did you do this as the head of your business? Did the financial documents look like this, et cetera, et cetera? And I think he would try to give a speech as he did when he was put on the stand by the prosecution originally. The judge would say yes or no, and he doesn't want to put himself in that position here. And then, as he pointed out, potentially put himself in greater risk in another case.
Now, Rudy Giuliani's trial to determine how much he owes to former Georgia election workers is underway. Giuliani has already been found liable over baseless claims that they committed fraud in the 2020 election. What will we hear from Giuliani?
Well, as you said, this is not about liability. This is about damages. So from Giuliani, we might still hear some arguments that, frankly, are better suited to liability. We might hear him say these statements were protected speech. He was protected by the First Amendment. These statements, he might argue, were about the election. But in the end, if he's really going to argue anything that matters to the jury, it's going to have to be that the harm wasn't that great. He's going to say, with respect to both of these poll workers, that their reputations weren't that damaged. And I think he's going to have to admit that they were damaged. But really, all he's trying to do is bring the potential award of damages down to as low as it possibly can be.
We have to run, Jessica, but just briefly, were you surprised that former President Trump did not testify today?
No, I think this is the smart move. I think he said what he was going to say. I think he had virtually nothing to gain, and I think we'll see this strategy moving forward.
All right, Jessica Levinson, thanks so much, as always.